Hi, I'm Adam Feinberg, and I represent Harlem Stories, and we are a podcast. In case you haven't heard of any of our previous episodes, we are a podcast specializing on the Upper Manhattan market, and as a generalization, in Manhattan as a whole. Today we have a special guest, Berto, and Berto is in the title world. And Berto, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about yourself first before we talk about renovating a townhouse, which is today's topic. But Berto, I'm going to hand the mic on over to you.
All right. I love talking about myself, so this works out just fine. Adam, thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Berto. I am the Executive Managing Director of Langdon Title Services. And yeah, I'm in title insurance. That's what I do for a living. But I've been in real estate for about 13 years now. And you'd mentioned how I got into real estate. I guess you want me to go through that?
Yeah, we can do that quickly.
Sure,
yeah.
Whatever you want. I mean, instead of going through my professional background, I guess I'll talk about my real estate investing background. So I bought my first, because it pertains to this. I bought my first two-family home while I was in college. So I was at Northeastern doing the internship program, but they paid you pretty well for a college kid.
Nice.
And I had saved up, what was it? Maybe like $7,500 for closing cost. But back then, it was no money down. I got a no income, no asset loan. So they didn't check any W-2s or pay stubs, didn't check bank statements. I just needed to have a pulse. And I got 100% financing, and I bought my first two-family home. Ended up selling it, not making a lot of profit because the market crashed shortly after, but I got a taste for real estate. And throughout that time, we started flipping some contracts, which was great. So I made a profit on flipping contracts with friends here in Brooklyn. And then I saw, listening to a podcast as well about real estate, thought it was a good idea to get back into investing. And I bought two houses at the same time. One in Tampa, one in Denver. Those were my first two purchases, just because a newspaper article said top 10 cities for economic job growth. Number one was Tampa. Number two was Denver. So I thought it was a good idea, and it was a great idea. And then eventually ended up buying a home in Newark, two-family in Bushwick, lake house upstate, a house in Miami, and of course the brownstone that we live in now. And I've also invested as an LP in larger projects with many developers.
And you know what? I think we might even, ask you back, coming in for other episodes and talking about real estate investing. So.
Sure. Let's do it.
Awesome.
All right.
So you said that you have your current brownstone. Can you tell me a little bit about that and like how that came to be and your process and thinking in terms of purchasing a brownstone that was going to need quite a bit of work?
Yeah, I think this is great for a lot of your clients who might be interested in having more space. They don't want to move to the suburbs, because I absolutely did not, but I also couldn't afford a $2 or $2.5 million home. I mean, would it have been a stretch? I could have possibly done it, but I didn't want to put $250,000 down or $500,000 down, and then I'd be up to my neck in mortgage payments. So we found a beautiful brick brownstone. It looked like 3 apartments, but it had 4 mailboxes outside. So I don't know what they were doing inside.
Yeah, we see a lot of that in Harlem.
Yeah, exactly. And listen, if I was bootstrapping, like right out of college, the apartment was fine. I didn't need to renovate. It would have been okay, but it just okay at best,
Gotcha.
Very old house. It's about 110 years old. And, but obviously being in the industry, I know a lot of loan officers. I know about construction loans. I knew I'd qualify. I'd already checked. So it worked out great. We bought it for about $1.15 million. We got a construction loan for up to 90%. So I only put 10% down, right? I put 10% down and I bought the house first. And then I refinanced with the construction loan. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have to put any more money down, which is fantastic, So 10% down, I got the home, then refinanced again for the construction loan. So I had to pay closing costs twice. Mm-hmm. But, closing costs twice when you do a SEMA, which is a whole other topic for yourself.
Oh, yeah,
so absolutely. I paid no mortgage tax. So I paid maybe an extra $10,000 in closing costs, but I saved myself $120,000 that I got to keep in my pocket, which is great.
And just because you mentioned SEMA stands for Consolidation, Extension, Modification Agreement.
Yep.
And, SEMAs are a great way to minimize your closing cost in terms of it's the...
saving in mortgage tax.
It's the mortgage tax.
Wildly expensive in New York. So I probably saved myself a good $15,000 to $18,000 right there alone. So I was happy to pay the closing cost again without the mortgage tax and save and keep that extra money in my pocket because we need it for furnishing the house and all the other things we were doing. So we got about a $380,000 construction loan, and I still spent some money out of pocket just because it's our forever home, and we balled out and got the hot tub. And why not do the backyard? We were not going to do the backyard. My father-in-law was going to do it over the course of 2 years, and we were like, screw it, let's do it.
Let's get it all done.
Yeah, we did everything. Finished the basement, and just did everything. So all in, I think we were, probably close to 155.
Okay.
But we refinanced into a 2% 30-year fix, and I don't care if it's fixed or not. I'll do an ARM any day.
Right.
Because you're never going to keep the loan for that long. That just happened to be the best rate at the time, and we appraised for $2 million.
Nice.
So it was a great deal for us.
So I think one of the questions that I know that, many of the buyers that we get, come into, how much is this going to cost renovation wise? And, can you tell me about like what your thought process was when you were looking at renovating and cost and, what kind of level finishes are going to cost what?
Right. I mean, we found 3 contractors. We had them price everything out. And of course, you just ask someone for a referral, and you want to vet, how quickly were they? Were they any extra hidden costs? Did they finish on time? All the basic. You could literally Google what questions to ask a contractor, and they'll pop up. Mm-hmm. So we found 3 reliable contractors. One specifically, we saw a house he had already done. We almost bought that house because it was beautifully renovated with the old details that we liked, but it was on a main road. And we didn't want to live on a main road with a child on the way. So we found him, and he was surprisingly the best quote, just by a tiny bit at that time, and he was definitely our guy. I remember the total cost for him being around about, I think it was $350,000. And then he said, and if you want to do this, it's a little extra. If you want to do that, it's a little extra. And we wanted to do all of it. We did
all the bells and whistles.
Yeah, our steps were yellow bricks. It was like not Wizard of Oz.
I know those yellow bricks that you're.
God.
Yeah.
Tore those up, and they had this master, like hands craftsman come and like hand spackle brand new brownstone steps. Beautiful. So we paid for all the little extra bells and whistles, and it was definitely worth it.
Now, did you buy in like any kind of protected district or anything of that nature?
No, it was just in Bed-Stuy, right near Broadway. So it's right on the corner of like Bushwick and Bed-Stuy. Taxes were great. It was super low at the time. It's doubled since because of my renovations, but it's still I think it's $4,400. Which is still not bad for what we have, So actually, now that you brought that up,
in terms of taxes, it's one thing that we discuss with our buyers. If they're buying something that it needs to be renovated, that is going to impact the tax, component. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience with that?
Yes, it's like a kick in the gut. I mean, it's the city. You have to pull permits. Do not be one of these people that does construction without permits. You think you're getting away with something. In the long run, you're not. One is if you can't do that unless you do all cash, right? Because a bank won't let you do that. But even if you try to be sneaky and you do it all cash, when you go to sell the property, you're going to run into a bunch of problems. And you're not going to be able to sell it unless someone agrees to also buy it all cash and not care.
Right.
It's a huge problem. You'll have to go back and then find an architect and redraw plans and resubmit. It's way worse. And so the city obviously will find out because you're pulling permits, and they'll come and reassess. Yeah, not fun.
Obviously it's a little different story if all you're redoing is some finishes, and that's a much smaller renovation.
Oh, yeah.
But if you're doing a major renovation, it's absolutely essential to pull those permits.
Yeah. And we did a full gut right now. I mean, if you go to my Instagram, maybe you'll post it, Adam. It's at Berto Antuñano, and we'll type it out, some of the notes somewhere. You'll see in my highlight reels, there's Heart 1, Heart 2, Heart 3. There's 300 pictures and videos of the renovation. And when you see the gut process in the beginning, I mean, we tore this place up. It was just 4 brick sides.
I kind of remember not the earliest stages, but I did, like the mid-level stages at that point.
That was fun.
Awesome. So, you said you went with a lot of bells and whistles. Can you tell me about the process? Any headaches that you might have had? Any challenges? And
Well, we started construction during like COVID. We closed 2 weeks before COVID lockdown. And one thing that was really interesting, and this is a hypothetical. This maybe did not happen in real life. I have to maybe say that for legal purposes.
I understand.
We boarded up the windows, and they started gutting during COVID. And as you remember, construction wasn't allowed.
Right.
So we couldn't get a dumpster outside. You couldn't pull a permit. You couldn't put it out there. So they literally tore up the top 2 stories and put all the garbage in the bottom 2 stories.
Gotcha.
I mean, it was floor to ceiling, 2 stories worth of construction trash. You couldn't even go downstairs. It was insane. And then fortunately, by that time, what they were doing is they would get in a pickup truck or like a van at night and just taking stuff out at night.
Gotcha.
It was wild. So that was interesting. But besides that, I mean, things that people will incur now is just, how they want to do the heating, how they want to do the plumbing, and just choosing everything is a lot of work. It's going to be different for everyone. For us, we had an issue with the roof. It looked good, but it wasn't great. And because we planned on it being our home forever, we decided to redo the roof.
Did you add a bulkhead?
No, we did not. We didn't need one at that time, just because then you'd have to pull separate permits to gain the extra floor area up there. But we do have one of those attic stairs, so we do plan on putting like a floating deck up there at some point.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but we're trying to put a speakeasy in the basement for now.
Nice.
Yeah, we're going to find like a false door and make a 4-person speakeasy. It'll be cool.
I was actually in a townhouse not too long ago. Actually, it was a modern construction, and they did one of those with the bookcase that's a hidden door.
Oh, man, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. But besides that, as far as I can remember, and leveling the floors, obviously, something that I guess hadn't thought about at the time, but very happy we did. And our contractor was amazing. Those floors are solid. Not a squeak throughout all the floors that he did. And like I said, it's a 110-year-old home.
Gotcha. Understood. And, some of the more expensive things. So, like, if you have an existing townhouse and you want to put, the ductless, air conditioning systems, I know that it's expensive. It might have been quite a bit cheaper if you're doing a full gut job. I know with a recent client, they did with the ductless, and they didn't really want to disturb much of the original 100-plus-year-old detail. So obviously, it's not cheap to do that, and it's like I want to say it was around $80,000, to do those ductless systems.
Yeah. I'd have to go back and check the Excel sheet, but I remember it. That was one of the highest numbers.
Gotcha.
I think it was maybe like $50,000 to do all of it, but it's worth it. If you care about what your house looks like and not losing that height in every ceiling. So we have 2 on every floor, and they're perfectly hidden. You can't see a thing. We still have plenty of height. We hid one in the closet. One's above my daughter's bathroom because, roofs are pitched.
Right.
So we were able to put in that area without losing height. And what was smart, architect's idea, which is why it's nice to have an architect, is in the parlor level. That's the highest ceilings that we have on our house.
Which is typical in the townhouse.
Yeah. He gave us the idea of doing 2 vertical ones. So we have a half bath on that floor, and they're on either side. So we have our 2 heating and AC units are vertical, hidden in the walls. You can't see a thing. It's a genius idea.
Nice.
Yeah, looks great.
Nice. And in terms of timing, I'm like, I know that these things don't necessarily happen all quick. You were doing it during COVID, or at least getting started in COVID. So, that's certainly a challenge that hopefully we won't have again in the future. Yeah. But the reality is, like, from the time that you closed until like the project was done, about how long for each phase, like the planning and drawing up with the architect, all the plans and.
Right. I think the architectural plans and drawing took a couple of months. Just because there's revisions and you have to visit and things change a little bit. Demo, I think maybe took about 2.5 months. and then they just start getting to work. And it's hard to encompass a time frame for all of that. But I think from what I remember, we moved in the following January, and we were living on the top 2 floors because they were basically done, and they were still finishing the bottom 2. But overall, it took us a year and 6 months. So a year and a half, maybe 8 months. I got to do the math.
Okay.
But that's fast.
Yeah.
For the roof, for 4 stories, for the basement, they redid the whole backyard. It was a concrete slab. Now it's not, and they redid the stairs in the front and fence and posts. I mean, they did a lot of work for 16 months as well.
Yeah, and it's just good, for the audience, for especially those that are considering buying a townhouse, getting a sense of how long renovation renovation can take.
Yeah.
And it can be significant, and it sounds like you were on a faster time frame despite the fact that you had COVID obstacles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not doing good math. 18 months is a year and a half. So it was 18 months. It was 18 months. But we were, listen, it's work. We showed up every week, and we were pushing them constantly, to get things done.
Did you have a project manager?
No, I mean, just us and the architect and the contractor would meet every week.
Okay.
And a lot of contractors, I think a lot of them are the same, unless maybe they're a younger generation than us. Every note they take, they're like, oh, I got it in my head. I'm like, that does not work for me. Because we would go back and they would forget. And this guy's fantastic. I love our contractor. He's amazing, but they got like 4 projects going on. How can I remember every detail? Architect recommended this. Maybe my wife did. Great idea. We had a shared notes on our iPhones between all 4 of us. Every walkthrough, we'd put the notes in there with the little checkpoints, and that way we knew what needed to be done, and the contractor could check them off, architect could check them off. I think, honestly, that little thing moved things along faster quite a bit. So it was great.
So, obviously, if you have a project manager, it can move things along a little easier. Mm-hmm. But, without a project manager, being a little bit more proactive, it does require a little bit more of an owner's time. Yeah. But I'm sure you can save quite a bit of money without having that project manager.
Yeah, I think our architect offered that. And he helped a lot, but we didn't pay him for that service specifically.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And, I know when we first opened, you said, it was a 3-family, 4 mailboxes.
Oh, yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Did you need to change any classifications with the Department of Buildings?
Nope. So it was legally a 2-family.
Okay.
And we kept it as a 2-family.
Okay.
I know that you're supposed to have a door that separates the 2 units. We did not. Inspector didn't say anything, which is great. And I just a quick story. They came in to finalize the inspection, and we had a hot plate in our architectural plans on the first floor apartment. And you're supposed to be able to pass as a kitchen with a electric hot plate.
Sure.
Inspector comes in, being a pain in the butt, just will not take it. He's like, you need a full working oven. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, because the house is done. I'm not ripping out a wall to put in an oven to get my thing. So I walk down the street. I know that there's an appliance store there, and I'm talking to the guys. I'm like, and I'm saying all this in Spanish. I'm like, listen, I know this sounds weird, but I need to borrow an oven. He's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I need to borrow an oven for like 2 hours. I gave him my idea. I was like, you hold this, because I'm coming back. You see me every day, right? Walking across here. I gave him $200 and a wheelie cart. I took the oven to my house. I put it in the laundry room. Inspector comes by, and he goes to check it. And when he says it needs to be working. Now, keep in mind, it's in my laundry room. There's a washer, dryer, and an oven. It's the stupidest looking thing I've ever seen. And when he goes to try to turn it on, I yell at him. I'm like, no, you can't walk into that room. He's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I just put those tiles down. They're fresh tiles. You'll ruin our floors. Rolls his eyes, takes a picture from afar, walks out. We keep our 2-family C of O, and I wheel the oven back. It wasn't working. It wasn't even plugged in. I just left it there.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think that's a great analogy for, working with the DOB. Sometimes it's kind of crazy and chaotic. Yeah. Don't want to necessarily say anything bad there, but I've had my challenges with the DOB, managing a condo building, let alone, on a renovation where you're dealing with that. We've seen some, really crazy things.
An important thing to note for timing is, if you do not move, and there's other criteria, but this is the main one. If you do not move where the plumbing is for the kitchens and the bathrooms, you can just do an alt 2. So even though we spent a ton of money and gutted this place for a year and a half, it was only considered interior alterations, which makes your permitting so much faster. And every kitchen is now where the bathroom is, and every bathroom is now where the kitchen is. So we swapped them for space, but the permitting saved us a ton of time and money.
Yeah, there's all sorts of ways to, save time and money and complications in the process. And certainly working with the right architect and knowledgeable contractors, that really makes all the difference in the world in terms of these renovations. In terms of the DOB, like some of these things I can tell you, if you're looking at like 1 and 2 families, even more specifically 1 families, they're not as stringently applied, these standards, as if, with 3 and 4 families. So once you start getting into the 3, 4
different
plus family, component, the DOB is going to, certainly have, much harsher scrutinies.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so that's certainly one thing that, that we get into the component. And now that you're in, the home, in terms of routine maintenance, I'm like, what have you given thought to? And
things happen for sure.
Right.
One thing that I always forget to do is to change my air filters. But the new units are great. You don't even have to change them. You remove them, you rinse them off with like the little sprayer in your kitchen sink. You let them dry for 30 minutes. You can throw them back in.
Nice.
So that's one thing we had to do. In the winter, they forgot to put in a shutoff valve, but they came back and did it, which was nice. So our laundry room sticks out of the brownstone.
Okay.
So it just gets a lot colder in there. It's
Gotcha.
like a bulkhead little thing, So if I see that it's going to be under, 35 degrees, I just turn the valve, make sure the water turns off. Mosquitoes in the backyard, mice. We've had a rat in our sub pump room.
Yeah.
Just things like that happen. It's New York City, so like we got to call what's it called? The rat killer guy. Exterminator.
Yes.
So we had to call an exterminator. I think those have been the main things. We're very fortunate. Our plumber and electrician live across the street.
Nice.
So I'll call them over. They'll come fix a few things every once in a while. But that's part of having a brownstone. There's no maintenance people.
Yeah. In terms of running and owning your own building, you are responsible for certain things. So, for instance, we didn't really see any significant snow this winter, but obviously you're responsible for clearing your own walkways.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, got a shovel, throw down some salt. If it gets bad, like I remember the first year it snowed a bunch. There's a guy down the street that will do it for us because I wasn't home,
right.
Some of the times. But if I'm home, I'll run out and do it real quick.
And I guess insurance, one of the things that, is important in a townhouse, especially those that have, those details from 100 years back, insurance is a big deal in a townhouse. Can you talk a little bit about your process of selecting insurance and what you went through? And
Sure. I mean, and speaking of, you reminded me because I was considering making a claim, but I never needed to. Our sub pump got clogged one time. And we had about 1 inch of water in the basement. Thankfully, it was only 1 inch. I got to it immediately. And nothing, no mold, no problems, but it was a ton of cleaning, and that sucked. Right. But I didn't want to put through a claim because it just makes insurance a super headache. But I always call my buddy Brad at USI. He's fantastic. Sometimes he'll be the cheapest. Sometimes he might not be, and he'll tell you either way. But it's the proper coverage because anyone can be like, listen, I'll save you $500 on insurance, but you don't read the fine print. It's like, sure, I can get cheaper health insurance, but if it doesn't cover this operation and this problem, of course it's cheaper.
Right.
So Brad's really good about that.
And with townhouses, especially those with, historic details in it, that's not a generalized insurance policy, right?
Right. Because you can get coverage to replace things, but not if it's a unique feature. Like we have a bunch of very unique features. We have a ton of old details that we've got from other brownstones, from other salvage yards that you won't find anymore. So they'll replace it at a very specific or different cost than any other insurance carrier, and they'll put us in an equal like room or hotel or Airbnb, and not just some random place in the meantime. So it's important.
Yeah, that's important because one of my clients, I sold them a townhouse last year, and they were both pleased and obviously, not as pleased when they found out the cost, of course, but when they found out that for insurance purposes, their home appraised twice what they just paid for it. Wow. So, that was because it was replacement value and, and obviously there was a lot of original details in this house that you just cannot easily readily replace. So, when you buy something for $2.7, $2.8, and it's appraising closer to $6 million as replacement value, that's obviously a big difference when it comes to insurance. So, that's I know one of the concerns that a lot of people don't necessarily think about when they're shopping and buying townhouses. So
it's you got to pay insurance no matter what. Obviously, it's going to be a little more on a brownstone, but it's worth having the space. Especially if you're planning on having kids or whatever reason it might be. You want to rent out the bottom unit, so and build wealth and equity. It's all worth it in the long run.
And as in the case of 2 or 3 family homes, obviously potential income opportunities as well.
Yeah.
Anything else that you think the audience would be interested to know about the process that you went through? And
I'm not really sure. Find a good architect, find a good contractor. Hope for the best, expect the worst. In the end, it's. I believe that if you have a well thought out plan with the right people, that obviously one of those is really important is having a good broker to show you the area that you're looking for, the best opportunities in that area. Make sure that you're getting a good price and making a good offer. Obviously, you can provide after ARV values, after repair values, which is what, if you get a construction loan, what they'll use. They'll use your architectural plans and appraise it for what it will be in the future. So obviously, that it's important to have a good broker to help you with all of those things. And in the end, you'll have equity, and that's obviously what we're all looking for in the future.
All right, that sounds great. And, Berto, thank you for your time on this episode. And, my name is Adam Feinberg, and this is Harlem Stories. Thank you for your time listening.